let's talk about making palm oil in the Ngemba region in Cameroon, precisely in Bafut. This was something I grew up seeing, and just getting to see this video reminds me of how it was done. Do you know how? Usually, it takes a while. They go gather the palm nuts. They have to actually climb the palm trees using a particular handmade sling. So when they go, they cut off and remove the ripened palm nuts. They are still in the cones. So when they come down, they keep it. If it's ripens and like really red, then they cut it out and pick out the nuts from the cones. And then they gather together. When they gather all the nuts into a big drum, you see the drum that's standing there. The gather is full with the drum in the drum. Then they put water there, and then they cover it with leaves, plantain leaves. And then they cook for hours to make sure that it's soft. I think it takes about 1 or 2 hours to really make sure that the nuts, when you press them, they can peel off from the seeds or from the real nuts inside. So after doing that, you see the locally traditional made meal. That's what we grow up seeing. If you're somebody who had the opportunity to be in the village, you will know what I'm talking about. And you will see it here, you will recognize it. But if you are just the latest generation, then come in here and learn from us who grow right in the inside of the village. So guess what? When they put the nuts, they boil, they're in the big drum. Then they cook for about 2 hours. Then they feel it and touch and they feel like the nuts are, when you press like this, the seeds can come out. Now it's telling us that the nuts can come out. It's saying that it's ready. And you see what? They go now empty the meal. The locally made meal is always there covered. When they use it, each time they cover it. When it's time that they have to reuse it, they open it, then they clean it, empty it and clean it to make sure it's all good and ready to go. And when the nuts are ready after being boiled in that big drum, they are all emptied into the meal. Guess what? As a child, which time I see this locally made meal, I just think about it. As a child, I used to really participate a lot there. So we will go, we are excited when they are doing that because we're going to have enough palm oil to take to our house. So we will be there fighting. We make sure we carry water that is used to cook the nuts, and then we carry water that is used to make the oil. So there was one day, I think I was like 10 years old, when I happened to, like when they have emptied the drum of the nuts into the local meal. And then I saw this, there were big, fat, very deep nuts that you want to grab. And I went to grab, I bent down to grab in the local meal. Guess what? One of my legs slides up from where I was grabbing and my hand slide. And guess what? I got my one right leg into the meal, into the hot nuts that were just being emptied from the pot. Guess what happened? My one side was all burnt. So I had to stay off school for a while and stay home until my one side leg was all healed. All my half body was like all burnt, because it's like burnt. It's really hot. Something that you just took up from the fire and empty in the meal. So let's go back to the business. So when I was just narrating the story, I remember how this all happened to me. But now I'm fine. Except I tell you, you won't see my scars. So with this happening, when they empty the nuts, they have specially made sticks, like big this size, that are big and long. So it takes about 2 or 1 people Usually it's 2 or 3, like a group, so that they can do easily. So, and they pound it. They have a rhythm that they're pounding. And before you know it, all the nuts are peeled. Like they separated the nuts, peeled up, the flesh, everything, the oil, that's all is peeled up. Then the nut is separated and we have the chaff. So when they do that, usually it's done in the evening. So the next morning when they do that, they just cover. And then they dig a big hole in the middle. As they dig that big hole, before they even finish, there's some oil there. Or they dig that big hole and just leave. So in the morning, they will open and first empty the oil, a big bowl of oil that has full in the big hole that was created in the middle. And then now, we carry water again. You have to carry water and fuel it back in the drum, and then they warm it. Then the water is bubbling, and then they empty it now back in the mill, in the locally made mill. Remember, they've smashed all. You can see it in the picture. I don't think they smash all the nuts, so they are now mixed. The chaff and the nuts are now mixed together. So when they put the warm water helps to get the oil to melt, the palm oil to melt and come at the top. So they drain that one, and they use very little small short sticks like this to move it back and forth, and which causes the oil to foam at the top, and then they drain it. So when they drain oil, they put a big pot back in the fire, and then they put fire and they cook for a certain time. So when they cook, the oil gets ready, the palm oil gets ready, and all settle at the top. So they will stand it out to cool down, and then they empty it, and now you have your oil. That's how the palm oil is being made in my village, Barefoot. You can see a snippy in the videos that I have here. Watch this video by the side and tell me if you can remember. It's for whosoever knows it. If you cannot remember, just learn from it. Tell me what you think. Don't forget to like, share, so other people can learn. This is still done even today. It's culture. Culture is culture. So it's never been given away. And this is a locally made meal that can be used by generations upon generation. It never gets bad. Even it gets bad, they fix it and it's being used. So thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye-bye.